Man, that's embarrassing.
You took the picture.
I don't own any other shirt.
Yeah.
This is the only shirt I own.
Well, congratulations on the album coming out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a bunch, but before we do, I just want to talk a little bit about your history and how you got here. I first heard about you when you were really young, 17, 18 years old. A friend from Sacramento sent me your CD.
You were 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and what stuck out about you for such a young guy is you were so focused on songwriting. Because usually when you have sort of teen prodigies, they're instrumental guys first. So I was wondering, like, what drew you into songwriting? Did you?
Well, I mean, I've always been interested in just songs. I mean, there was a time when I was starting out that I wanted to be a rock and roll guitar player. I wanted to play, play through a loud amp and have screaming girls and that whole thing. And I still like that. But there was, I think it was, if I had to pinpoint a specific artist, it would be, I think when I heard Tom Waits for my first time, and then later I heard Bob Dylan. There was just something about, there was something that was more transportive to me about songcraft and about the singer than about anything guitar related that I could figure out for myself, So I would say that from a pretty early age, I was really sort of interested in songs. It's hard to say that I'm more interested in songs than like guitar playing because it's all.
Well, we're going to get there because you've come around to being
a
very.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like to me, it's like music is music, and you're either a good musician or you're not.
Right, but
that's about it.
What I meant, I think, was that a lot of people start as instrumental virtuosos, especially when they're kids, and they come around to songcraft. Whereas it seems like you started with songcraft and songwriting and developed the instrumental skills.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, I think that's particularly with songwriting, it's something that's an evolving skill for somebody, and that's like you're never really, at least for me, like I go through these phases where the last couple records I would make, I'd try and overcomplicate things, and sometimes I'd overthink things, even be guilty of being cerebral, like too cerebral even. And lately I've been trying to sort of pare it down to what the essence of it is. Like Hank Williams is a good example. It's like, they're simple songs, but they're profoundly meaningful, right? And there's something about that, and that's true with a lot of old blues and roots music too. It's profoundly meaningful, and I mean, for me, that's like I hear something, I hear that, and it's like that's it. That's totally where it's at.
One of the things that first brought you to a bit of a wider audience is when you first worked with Phil Lesh, which I think was probably in 2005, about
2006 or 7. I turned 20. I remember I turned 27. Phil threw me a birthday party, which is why we do it in San Francisco, by the way. At the Warfield, I turned 27, and I mean that guy knows how to throw a party. I mean, just tell you what, man, you want a party, have it thrown by a member of the Grateful Dead. That's a party.
So how did you come to Phil's attention, and could you describe a little bit how that whole experience changed you?
Well, the way I understand it, you'd probably have to ask Phil, but the way I understand it, I had a song on radio a while back called "I'm So Gone," and he had heard it, and he has his ear to the ground. He's listening for local talent and whatever. And he came out to see us at one of those festivals, one of those big jam festivals in Tennessee. Bonnaroo. Thank you. Came out to see us. Sorry. Yeah. Whack. He came out to see us at Bonnaroo, and I didn't actually meet him then, but everybody was like, Phil's here to see you. Phil's here to check out your band. And I thought, great. I don't really know who that is, and. And I didn't really know that much about the Grateful Dead. I heard I knew a couple things. And anyhow, he called me up out of the blue sometime later. I was living in San Francisco at the time, He called me up, and he said, Jackie, this is my Phil impression. He said, Jackie, this is Phil Lesh. And I thought it was like some dude playing a prank on me. I'm like, get out of here, you know. And turned out it was, and he asked me to come in and help him write some songs for a television show that never materialized. Nothing ever happened with it. But so my first experience with Phil was actually working in a studio, and the next thing I know, you know, we're there. The next thing I know, John Molo, drummer, walks in. Larry Campbell walks in. Steve Molitz walks in, and we have a band. And the next thing I know, we're going on the road. And he goes, and he gives me a big stack of Grateful Dead music, you know, and you got to remember at that time, I didn't, you know, I knew like Casey Jones, and I knew like, I might have known a verse of Truckin' or something like that. I didn't know Dark Star, I didn't know Cassidy, I didn't know, you know, Sugar Ray, I didn't know any all this fantastic stuff. So that whole experience for me, and this is to tie it back to the song thing, is what I found in all that was more than like the jamming and all that, was just amazing songs. And I mean, that's the thing that I think makes, I mean, you can call it Grateful Dead jam band if you want, I don't care, but that's a great song band. They have great songs, is what it, for me, what it boils down to. And you know, they're an American treasure. It's like, yeah, it will go down with Dylan, with Tom Petty, with the Stones. It's great songs, you know, and that's what makes them, for me, what makes them a cut above of a generic jam band. Let's just say, you know, a big cut above. Let's just say. So
let's talk about the new album.
Mm-hmm, sure. It's an EP technically. So just so everybody gets it straight. I mean, I don't know. It's 6 songs, and so I guess maybe a long time ago that might have been an album. But it's for us, it's an EP, and it's a volume 1, which is coming out tomorrow, and there's a volume 2, which is coming out sometime in the winter.
And why? I mean, let me ask you this: why are they 2 volumes instead of a next album? Is there a thematic connection?
It could have been one record, and that was the initial idea. But I really wanted to have something come out sooner than later. And quite frankly, there was one song I really wanted on it, and I wasn't quite finished with it. So I had to sort of finish that song and put it on volume 2. But as I sort of stepped back and listened to the stuff that I was making, I realized that, you know, it's a little bit like sort of crafting a play. It's like, those kind of things go together, you know. These ones go well together. Yes, they can all go together if you want, but let's try this, you know. Let's try it, like put out music. And I'm in a situation now where it's like, you know, I'm not really beholden to any time frames from any labels or anything like that. So I can put out music whenever I want now, which is a effing awesome thing to feeling. Sorry, I don't want to cuss, but to watch my sailor's mouth.
Well, I think 6 songs.
I think so it's just something I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think the 6 songs is actually a great length. You listen to it all the way through in one sitting, really.
You're right, yeah.
Easily. They go songs,
and they're all short.
They
too.
flow really nicely together.
They're all pretty short. Yeah. They're all like simple. I'll play you guys a couple of them later. They're all just sort of simple folk songs, really.
Well, I was interested and a little surprised when I read the bio to get a little more information that you had recorded it all yourself.
I did.
And the reason I was surprised is because
don't blame me.
It sounds like a band. So is it hard to interact with?
It
yourself?
is a band. It's a band of myself. It's my very own band. So yeah, I mean, part of it is, it's honestly for me, it's not that much of a stretch because on every single record that I've ever made, there's at least 1 or 2 songs where it's me playing all the instruments. So it's not that far of a stretch. And the way I've always worked, and the way I've always, I guess my creative process, if you call it that, is I always am working in a studio. I always have had a studio in various levels of sophistication. Some nice, some not so nice. And I do a lot of writing in the studio. So I try things out, and a little bit like a quarterback, I kind of sit back and I listen and I say, well, what happens if if a guitar part goes like this here, and I'll go over and I'll play it, and then I'll listen. I'll go, nah, you know. What if I do a harmonium part here? I'll try it, and nah. And so a lot of my process is just me sort of playing quarterback, and that's how I work. Anyway, so like I make different versions of some of these songs, and this is what we end up with is a totally DIY home recorded in a Brooklyn basement folk blues album.
And in a way,
with banjo and drum machine. What else?
Yeah,
It's kind of. I'm not afraid. Like I'm not like I don't see myself as a purist anyway. I don't subscribe to any sort of orthodoxy or anything like that. It's like I'll use whatever I have. Like part of my philosophy is that you ought to make records with whatever you got. And some of my favorite records are made on very tight budgets, and people just use what they have, and so I made a record in a Brooklyn basement with whatever gear I could bring with me from California, and that's what you get.
Yeah, and in a way, it's kind of a throwback to your first record you made by yourself, sort of.
Yeah,
in your
yeah. I
basement
mean,
or
that
garage.
cost. Yeah, probably cost even less.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you think about that when you were doing it, like that you would kind of come full circle to?
No, I didn't think about it in those terms. I just think about it as I'm working. The thing is, man, is I do that every day. So it's like, people ask me, is it nice to come home off the road? And yeah, it's nice, but that's when I'm actually going to work. Is when I come home off the road. Is I go down to the my wife is here. You can ask her. I go down to the basement every day. I have I pack a lunch, have a little tool belt, a thermos with a coffee. I go downstairs and I hammer some nails into a plank, and I come back up and I have a birdhouse, and that's how I do it, So.
So the title track, "Modern Life," is it's a cool song, and it has starts with a banjo, right? First thing you hear is a band on the whole thing is a banjo.
Yeah.
And it's got this sort of jamboree feel, very upbeat music.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are a little bit dark, I thought, but you don't sing them in the vocal melody. So
yeah.
I mean,
it's supposed to be sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's me being snarky and sarcastic. The song came about actually really, really quickly. It's one of those, like, you probably talk to a lot of songwriters. You could labor over something for a long time, but this one actually came pretty quickly. We were waiting for an Uber to go to the airport, and it just sort of came out. I grabbed a guitar and sang like the first verse and part of the chorus into my phone, and and I finished it on the way to the airport. And I came back and I messed around with a couple different versions of it, and then I recorded it that way. Yeah, it's like banjo. Well, it's like that banjo-tar thing. It's like not really banjo. It kind of sounds like a banjo, but you can play it like a guitar. I have an old like 90s hip-hop MPC drum machine that I would hand play, because I don't know how to make loops, so I'd have to do it by hand because I'm not that smart. I don't really know how to do that. And then I play real drums to it, and then I would, whatever else, I don't remember what else is on there, mandolin or something, I don't know what else is on there. But, I just come up with what I think. I'm only looking for a song to capture a feel or a vibe. I'm not really that concerned with the particularities of anything. Like, I don't really care if it doesn't have to have a guitar solo, for example, for me. I don't care about guitar solos. I know this is Guitar World, I'm sorry, but I don't care about guitar solos that much. If they're necessary, great. If they're not, that's fine too. I think you can, again, I'm just interested in the whole vibe of what the whole thing sounds like. So that's the mindset that I have, really.
How much do you think those lyrics were affected by you living in New York? You're
not 100% totally. I'm like a country kid that came, where I used to live, I had like 2 acres, and and then I found myself I had 2 acres, and I could make noise in the middle of the night, and the nearest neighbor was like a dairy farmer, now I live in Brooklyn, and it's like I'm trying to record something quiet, and it's like the car alarm is going off down the street, and dude, like, how long is that going to take before that goes off? And it's like, well, you guys all know, you live in New York. Yeah. So it makes it kind of difficult. And yeah, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with New York. I'm not going to lie. It's like, I think we all do to a certain extent. It's like, going through Midtown in the middle of the rush hour, or trying like no one who lives here ever really wants to be caught dead in Times Square. You know what I mean? So it's like that's what I'm talking about. It's like that kind of but it's great on the other hand too. We're here.
Right.
Hey, buddy.
That's a really good line. Your Times Square looks like a graveyard. I like.
Yeah, that's just sort of. It's me being an outsider, being a little bit snarky about your beautiful city. Sorry.
And then Tupelo is another song I think has a lot of banjo on it.
Yeah, that's not New York though.
Yeah. No. That reminded me a little bit of a Robert Hunter song lyrically.
Cool. All right.
And it has a sort of mythic, it's sort of Americana, but it's not quite as straight ahead story. And it made me think, I mean, when you played all those shows with Phil and you had to immerse yourself in that catalog, and you sang a lot of it, and I'm wondering how much of that had an impact on your songwriting overall, and if you do think that the Tupelo in particular.
I don't know about Tupelo in particular, but it's quite possible because, after learning all those Grateful Dead songs and really being affected by them in the way that I was, it seeps into you. It's like, that's the other thing I could say, by the way, about playing with Phil. It's like, I think what happened is I came at those songs from a very, very authentic place. I didn't know what Jerry did in 1977. I have no idea what Bob did at whatever Coliseum in 1982. I don't know any of that stuff. And so when I was given the task to sing these songs, all I had was the song. And all I had was my own way to do it. And I came at it from a very authentic place. And I think Deadheads can realize that. And what they witnessed is that somebody up there who was finding out their new favorite band, in front of thousands of people. And that was me. So, like, you're witnessing someone become a Deadhead by playing the music. So, so that's about as real as I can be. So, yes, those songs, I mean, it's, if you ask me what my favorite Grateful Dead song is I could probably have a list, Oh, that guy, jeez. Do we have a different picture? I'm just kidding. But the songs seep into you, It's like, and as someone, who writes songs for a living, it's impossible to not let that happen. In fact, actually, it's a bad idea. If you don't let it in, then nothing's ever going to come out. So you have to let it in before it can come out.
Right. And have you had similar experiences with some of the other artists you've
every
done
artist every artist
you've
that I
done
love.
stuff with you did some shows with Levon. You
Oh
get
God,
deep into the band.
Man.
Yeah.
Levon Helm. The first time I ever met Levon was up at the barn, and I know a lot of people have had this experience. I was very nervous to meet him. So such a big fan. And we sat in his kitchen and he offered me a Coke in a bottle. He's like, man, you want a Coke in a bottle? And some pork rinds. He loved pork rinds and Coca-Cola in a bottle. And I sat down and smoked a joint. And can I say that? Yeah. Sorry, all right. I don't know, man. I don't know it's the truth. And I felt right at home, and I sat in with him that night, and he was just looking at me, and I was looking at him, and I was singing, he was smiling, I was smiling back at him, and I was like, that's Levon Helm. I was like, and musicians will know this, like when we broke into, like, I don't remember what the tune was, it was a shuffle though, and Levon has a shuffle that doesn't feel like anybody else, and we're playing, and I'm going, damn, that's Levon, man, and that's the feel, that's what it feels like, and I'm just like, so God bless him, and he's just one of my heroes for sure.
And another song on the EP, I won't call it an album.
Sorry, was that even the question?
Yeah, no. I'm just wondering, these experiences you've had playing with these Americana legends, and how much it filtered through, because I am familiar with your very earliest work, and it's certainly in that vein, and I'm going to go back and listen to it with the Tom Waits ear now because I never made that association.
Well, that's the impetus. That's
But-
the very beginning. And that's going back to like, when I was probably 18 or so, or 19. I mean, I was probably 20. I was 21 when my first record came out. But I'll tell you another story. Actually, I opened for Mark Knopfler a bunch up in Canada. And do you remember? I can't remember exactly what year it was, but there was a huge power outage on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And was that 2003? So I was supposed to be flying from Boston. I don't remember. Maybe it was Toronto or something like that. And long story short, barely got there, barely made it in time for. I'm opening for him. It's just me and an acoustic guitar. And he comes out and he meets me at the cab. And he tries to carry my guitar for me. He's like, "I'm so glad you could make it, mate." And I was like, "Mark Knopfler? Really?" It's just a sweet, sweet dude, And I couldn't believe it. And I've been very lucky that most of the people that I've met and have gotten to play with have been, really sweet people. Warren Haynes is one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Just super, super cool people. So,
And just before we move too much past the album, I just want to mention one other one, Captain's Daughter, which is also feels a little bit Robert Hunter-y or maybe Bandy. It's just a great song with interesting movement in lyrics where I don't quite know what's happening. But it feels like a good story, even though I don't quite know what the story is.
I'm not sure I do either. That's actually the one on there that's actually an older song of mine that I sort of resurrected. My friend Tim Bloom, who's a singer in a band called the Mother Hips on the West Coast, which is a fantastic band. The only person I've ever really written songs with is Tim, and he helped me with that one. He's a seafaring kind of a character. Tim is, if you get to know him. He reads a lot about that kind of stuff, but I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah. You mentioned before, that you don't feel like every song has to have a guitar solo, and so.
Yeah, in fact, I think for me, I'm so sensitive to it that sometimes I try and exhaust every other possibility before I do that. Which isn't to say that I don't like to do it, because the other thing for me is like when we play live, and this is the consequence of playing with Phil and learning a different way to view live performance, which is to say that you can take these songs on any record. You don't have to perform them that way. It's like if we want to stretch it out and play guitar solos over it, we'll do that live. We don't have to do it on the record. It's like find out what's good for the record. Find out what's good for the song. And then worry about how you're going to play it live later.
So when I heard that you were going to be in the Black Crowes, I sort of thought, well, that's kind of weird because I just didn't think of you in that way. That's like a.
You thought I had no chops, man.
I heard you play a lot of great solos, but they were usually like brief, more like. And so I was a little skeptical. I'll be honest. But I went, I saw it. I was in third row of a show, and you did great.
Thank you.
So first of all, he can play guitar solos.
I can't. I mean, I'm not like. I'm no Derek Trucks or anything. Or I'm no Warren Haynes. I don't pretend to be that. But, I'll give myself a little credit. I have a thing that I can do, and, I don't really. I don't know. I'd look at it differently. I'm not that competitive. You know what I mean? When it comes to that, I don't know.
Well,
I don't see it. I see it differently. I guess.
When you got offered that gig or started talking to them about it, did it feel right away like, yeah, I can do this and it'll be good?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It felt like a daunting task, because that was one of my favorite bands growing up, and not to date anything, but it's like, so on the one hand, it's like, one of your boyhood dreams is to play rock and roll guitar in a big loud rock band, and so that covers that, and so I thought about that, and I was like, well, maybe it's just a challenge, maybe it's just in life you have challenges, and you can either stand up and meet those challenges, or you can slink back like a little sissy, and I'm serious, that's life, right? That's what happens in life. So, I think that you know, I've said this before. Like I've said yes a lot more in my career than I've said no to gigs, to jobs, to work, to opportunities. And the thing about that is you'd be surprised as you know, the harder you work, the more opportunity you get. You know, that's just the way it works.
So similarly, did you come out of that gig? So I should say, for those who don't know, so Jackie toured with the Black Crowes as the lead guitarist for the whole, what seems now to have been their final tour.
That was the final.
I mean, yeah, and you know, so
I'm not gonna.
Did you come out of that, the other end of that, with a lot of different different view of music?
Yeah, I think it made me a better guitar player. I mean, playing with Rich every day, he's such an interesting guitar player. And playing off of Chris and Rich and knowing my role, you know, what I was supposed to be doing, you know, and also, you know, it's also not being the center of attention is nice because, you know, Chris is the center of attention. And you know, in that context, sort of living out that, living out a boyhood dream of being in a big loud rock. You know, look, I have like 4 Marshall stacks that I never get to use until I joined that band, and it was like, you know, it's so awesome to be able to use.
Do you still have them?
Hell yeah, I still have them, dude. I just, you know, they're too loud for any other band, but you know.
I've also, you know, with Trigger Hippie, which is another band. A lot of people want me to ask you about Trigger Hippie.
Sure.
So let me ask you: is there any chance Trigger Hippie will ever ride again? Which again, if you don't know, is Jackie's band with Steve Gorman from the Black Crowes and Joan Osborne, primarily.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I imagine I couldn't do it anymore because it was well, look, I'm 37 now, and I can't. There was a time when I could be in 5 bands at the same time, and those days are long past me. I told you backstage I'm going to become a father soon, so thank you. It's funny how everybody claps for that. It's like, oh, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I have, join the club, pal. So, you know, I have to think about that, and you know, life catches up with people, I suppose, and I'm focusing on other stuff. It doesn't, you know, they may continue, but I'm going to see Joan next week, so I mean, you know, we're going to sing together.
Well,
next
one of the
week.
things that struck me when I saw you with that band was you're a great Hammond B3 player. I mean, you sat down there.
Oh, right.
So I'm wondering, like, what your development on each of these instruments was. Like, did you?
I
learn
had
them
no
by
friends,
need?
dude. Growing up, I had no friends. I had to make friends with instruments.
Well, you started out as a guitar player. Then, I mean, where did you start picking up all these other instruments? Was it?
I don't know. It sounds like a bad country song, but it's true. When my mom and dad split up when I was a kid, when he left behind a guitar. And I'm serious. It sounds like a really sad country song, but so in my household there was a single mom, a guitar, and a broken piano. And if you want to know my personality, that's it. So ask my wife. Yeah. I can go dark pretty quickly, but everybody has. I think everybody has that in them, but I don't want to get on a psychology trip. But
so you know, they say like when you're learning another language, you know, you really know it when you dream in it, when you have a dream in that language. Do you feel that way at all with like when you think of a song, do you still think of it an acoustic guitar, or do you ever think of like an organ part first or a piano?
You mean while I'm...
When you're songwriting or when you're just coming up with song ideas?
So for me, it's hard. I don't know if I can answer that sufficiently because when I'm writing, it's, you know, athletes talk about the zone, right, or things like that, and it's a real thing. And for me, it's like you just sort of sit there and you're quiet and there's something out there that just gets into your head and then somehow you process it and it comes out. I don't know how that happens, but it's like you have to, it's almost like you're channeling something else. You know what it is? It feels more like discovery than it feels like creation, is what it feels like. So it's almost like you're discovering something rather than, you know, when it's right. So to answer your question, I don't know if I can answer that question. I don't know.
Right.
So like, you know, I mean, there are times when I'll just go flail around and try things, and then there are times when it's very obvious what I need to do, and that's what I mean about being in that zone or whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Well, to give you a totally random compliment about an old song, "Honey, I've Been Thinking of You" is really a great tune.
Oh, thanks.
And one of the things that's revealing about it, I think, and about you and your songwriter and your approach is that
that song's about trying to get laid by an older woman, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, what I was gonna say is it starts off sounding like very Dylan-y, right?
Yeah.
And then the first verse or two, you're thinking, but Bob Dylan never wrote a straight love song like this. And then, maybe the third verse or something, it starts to unfold that it's a little twisted.
A little twisted.
And it's got a really sly sense of humor because you slip
I'm
it
messed
in,
up,
so.
man. What do you want? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the stuff about the red-blooded sister and.
Yeah, well, hey, men have their fantasies. What can I say? Everybody goes silent. How dare he? I'll lighten up, New York.
No, you can pretty. It takes a lot to shock
I know
us.
it, yeah. You guys are all jaded. We've heard everything.
So you're playing a benefit show next week. You mentioned being with
Joan's going to be there. We
It's
got a
with
couple
Joan.
of Osbournes.
Yeah.
We got a couple of Steves.
Yeah. So it's Steve Earle.
Steve Earle, Steve Forbert, Anders Osborne, Joan Osborne,
Right.
myself.
Which is a great lineup. And can you tell us a little bit about the charity that it's for?
Well, it's sort of multifaceted, but my angle on it is music in schools. So this will be the second time we've done it on the East Coast. We mostly do it on the West Coast, and it benefits underprivileged kids for music in schools. When I was growing up, I don't know if I might be one of the last generation of kids to have music in public school as sort of a thing. I know that it started going away, and I know it's one of the first things that gets the kibosh, but for me, it's not really about like finding the next Mozart or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. The reason you want to expose kids to music, I think, and I'm no scientist, by the way, so don't listen to me, but this is just what I think. I think what it does is it opens up a part in a kid's brain that helps them problem solve in a way that they wouldn't necessarily do if they weren't exposed to music. So I think that's the point. It's not like you're trying to find a Jimmy Page, It's like you're not going to, whatever. But I think music's important. Music in schools is important, and this is one of those things that
Right.
I don't feel shy about talking about.
So the benefit is for the Blue Rose benefit.
Yeah.
It's next Wednesday, the 18th.
Next Wednesday, but it's in New Jersey, everybody.
Yeah. It's in,
We're like one person.
It's in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Red Bank,
at the
New
Count
Jersey.
Basie Theater, which
Count
is
Basie
a
Theater.
great venue. I'm sure many people here have gone down there to see.
You guys
people
can
they love.
carpool with me if you want.
Do you enjoy those kind of singer in the room? I mean, you're doing a whole tour with Anders Osborne, right?
So this thing that Anders and I are doing, that show is actually the start of a tour for Anders and I, and we did this a little bit earlier this year, like 5 or 6 shows, and we just decided that it was originally like we were each going to play acoustic. He would go out, I would go out, but we're like, let's just do it together. We'll do the whole thing together. We'll accompany each other on each other's songs, and we had no plan, and it turned out awesome, and it was great. Everybody had a good time. We were joking around, and the crowd and the people loved it. So we're like, let's do it again. So that's what we're gonna do, and hopefully we're actually playing. We're playing in New York, so that's right. So, it's sold out. Both of them are sold out. Oh Lord.
Congratulations, and that's a great. It's a very natural
Thanks.
fit with Anders Osborne.
Yeah, it's like, and the more I get to know the dude, I just love the dude. He's a sweetheart. He's a great singer, great songwriter, and just a lot of fun to be around. So I imagine we'll have a lot of fun.
Before Jackie plays a few songs, we're going to open up to questions from the floor, I think. Is that right? Is that where we're at now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't see you because I have bright lights in my face, but Brad's right here at the microphone, and he'll flag him down.
Hi. I'm the New Jersey person. Would you ever consider playing Maple Woodstock?
Sorry, I can't. Can you turn up the? I can't hear her.
She wants to know if you'll play Maple Woodstock, which is a great music festival in my hometown of Maplewood. In fact, so we can work on that.
Okay, you said Maple Woodstock? I play in Woodstock all the time.
Yeah.
Woodstock? I play in Woodstock a lot.
It's Maple Woodstock. Maplewood is my town in Maplewood, and probably her town as well.
In New Jersey?
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk. I can help you with that.
Would I ever consider playing it? I consider playing everywhere. I just, I say yes more than I say no. I told you that.
Yeah, it's a great festival. It's
Okay.
It's a
I've
great
never
gig.
heard of it, but yeah, totally.
That would be a lot of fun. We'll work on that.
Hey, Jack. Yeah, guys. My question, you mentioned benefits. I know you do a lot of free stuff for people to help raise money. Mm-hmm. One of the things I want to know more about is the December 2nd when you're doing with your brother.
That's right.
And can you give us a little feed about what you're
I'll
doing?
give you a little bit about it. So my wonderful wife works for CUCS, which is, what's that? Is that what we're talking about? That's what we're talking about. Yeah, yeah. So she supervises a homeless outreach team up in Harlem. She marches up there every day for no money. And sorry, honey. And so that's what this is for. It's for her agency. I get to see firsthand the boots on the ground work that she does, and quite frankly, it's funny. It's like I come home like from a tour, and it's, I'm like, they didn't have Evian water backstage or whatever. I'm not really like that, but you know what I mean. Or I'll complain about something that's ridiculous, and she'll say, "You know what I did today? I saw a starving man urinate himself in the middle of and I'm like, okay, So a little perspective is golden, I think.
So Jackie, could you tell us a little bit about where and when that benefit is?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are really putting me on the spot. Where is it? It's
December
at the
2nd,
cutting
right here
room?
at the cutting room. So, yeah.
December 2nd at the
Yeah.
cutting room. That's here, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Over here, Alan.
Hi. You said you produce at home. Do you also write your songs at home?
Yeah, I do everything. Well, I mean, not. Yeah, I mean, on this particular, these particular records that I'm releasing, yeah, I did everything in a basement, on the border of Bed-Stuy.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like that.
Really, it kind of does to me.
Yeah.
But
Well, maybe it will to me now too.
yeah, just think about it. If you listen like with your headphones on, like I was able to duck a lot of stuff out, but like if you listen with your headphones on, you'll hear like a car horn honk every once in a while, because it's like at some point you kind of have to just give up, and you're like, well, that's what it is. Here we are. We're in a basement in New York, So, go figure.
Another one over here. Okay, we're gonna ask one more question.
I'm yapping too much, is what's going on.
Hey, I saw you with Voodoo Dead, and I saw you play with Brandon Taz. What was it like seeing somebody that young being so great? At
Oh, little
guitar playing?
Brandon.
Yes, it was amazing.
Dude, that kid's amazing. I've known about that kid for a while. I've played with him a couple times. He is. I mean, if he doesn't, I hope he doesn't burn out. Let's just say that, because he's got so much time and so much potential. He's so good, and it's like the only thing I would say is to just still for him is to just be a kid for a while, and let that sink in. You don't have to be an adult yet. You have all the rest of your life to be an adult. You only have a short time to be a kid.
Yeah, and I think he's pretty good at that. I saw him at Tedeschi
Yeah.
Trucks Band last night.
Yeah.
He gave me a big high five. And
Yeah,
I
no,
just
I think he's, as long as, God,
Yeah.
just
But
keep him on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the question was about Brandon Niederauer.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so,
We call him Taz.
okay, well, thank you very much. Thank
My
you, Jackie.
pleasure.
And
Thanks,
thank you all. So take a minute to set up. Jackie's going to
Yeah.
play. Just so you know, when he finishes, don't rush out. I guess we're going to have to clear out of here, but well, I do want to make sure everyone knows before, that he's going to be out there signing. He's got CDs, which again are out tomorrow, but they're out there. You can get them, and some other merch. So line up out there. Don't rush when he's done.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is so funny to me too. It's like I'm wearing the exact same thing. Yeah, it's awesome. I should have called myself before I left the apartment. Yeah, no. Hey man, I got this shirt in France. This is the nicest shirt I have. This one's called Modern Lives. Well, I called up the president and asked him where the money went. He told me that it all got spent long before I ever learned to drive. How's that, kid? Are you satisfied? Now do us all a favor and go buzz along your modern life. I turned on the evening news, another white man sang the blues, telling me I'm gonna lose unless we all wake up and choose a side. Come on, son, where's your pride? Well, sir, it's hard to catch my breath when I've been drowning in my modern life. No, you can't fool me. Your Times Square looks like a graveyard. I got a billboard for my headstone and a car horn for my eulogy. I don't know, but it's been said there's bound to be good times ahead. You might get rich, you might get dead, but either way I'm waiting for a sign. Oh my Lord, you know I'm trying, but it don't feel like easy winning when I'm spinning in my modern life. No, you can't fool me. Your Times Square looks like a graveyard. I got a billboard for my headstone and a car horn for my eulogy. I called up the president, asked him where the money went. He told me that it all got spent long before I ever learned to drive. How's that, kid? Are you satisfied? Now do us all a favor and go buzz along your modern life. Won't you do us both a favor and go buzz along your modern life? Thank you. Oh, thank you. It's short. A lot of these songs on this record are short, and like I said, they're just kind of like folk songs, really. Here's another one. Never really played this one before. This is not a real banjo. This is called a banjitar. I have a real banjo, but it's much easier. This is called Tupelo. Someone told him about the gambler. Someone told him how the money flowed. Someone told him about the midnight creeper. Someone told him about Tupelo. Someone told him about the women. Someone told him about the things they know. I bet nobody ever told him about the devil down in Tupelo. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down there no more. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down to Tupelo. Someone told him about the cocaine. Someone told him about that powdered snow. Someone told him you can drink fine liquor, find a friend down in Tupelo. Someone told him about the bright lights. Someone told him about the cheap peep show. I bet nobody ever told him about the hard times in Tupelo. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down there no more. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down to Tupelo. It ain't fair, it ain't fair. You can moan all you like, but the devil don't care. You can run away, but the devil knows you'll be back someday. It ain't none of my business. Son, I hate to see you fall so low. I'm only trying to give fair warning about the devil down in Tupelo. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down there no more. Tupelo, Tupelo, I ain't going down to Tupelo. Yeah. I ain't going down. Hard times, hard times. I ain't going down. I think we have to, I gotta start wrapping this up. Let's do one on the piano. I'm gonna do an old one if that's all right. I appreciate you guys coming out on a work night. We love you. The royal we, California is the place to be, but I should warn you about the things I've seen. You don't fit in, you don't belong. Your so-called friends will all be gone. I believe the things we say keep us deceived. They get in the way. We run around, we move too fast, and that's the reason nothing lasts. That's the reason, that's the reason. There can be no mistaking. I wanna know why I am so uncertain, behind the curtain shaking. I don't wanna go out like this, curse everybody with an angry fist. You take for granted what's in our past, and that's the reason nothing lasts. That's the reason, that's the reason. There can be no mistaking. I wanna know why I am so uncertain, behind the curtain shaking. Somebody pointed out to me I want one more chance to believe. I wanna run, go stare into the sun, watch the bay waves breaking, the human race awaken. I wanna know why I am so uncertain, behind the curtain shaking. Shaking. Shaking.
Thank you guys so much.
This on? Okay. Hey, let's hear it one more time for Jackie Greene. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Cutting Room New York for hosting us. Those of you watching the stream, you can stream the new album, Modern Lives, Volume 1, on guitarworld.com, and you lucky people can go out there, and Jackie will be out in a few minutes and get it directly from him. So thank you again.